They can't even afford to pay their anchors anymore. That's the penalty news organizations are paying after two very controversial debates, both on ABC and CBS. Just as entertainment companies saddled up to failure when they chose the horse of woke and DEI, news organizations who share advertising and revenue with their bigger entertainment buddies are now collapsing under the weight of going utterly partisan. Yes, Disney, we're talking about you. Hello, folks, and welcome back to the Pro Channel. It is a Monday, but that's okay because we are joined today by Michelle of Force of Light, and we are getting ready to do just everything more than all right, a journey of pure excellence into entertainment analyses. Michelle, welcome back to the channel.
Good to be here. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute, and we're glad that you are helping us win it, and that is this video. Folks, you can help us win it even more by clicking the like button. Here we go. All right, folks, it's a doozy of a day, and here's what we've got. Out of the Wall Street Journal, star TV anchors are on notice. You're not getting a raise. From NBC to ABC to CBS, the campaign to cut costs reaches the biggest names across media landscape. This is by Joe Flint and Isabella Simonetti. Again, Wall Street Journal covering this one. Now, Michelle, the reason this is so fascinating is because we are in the Super Bowl of all Super Bowls for the news media. We are in the height of the most contentious election cycle I've ever seen. It is October, and it is not the public out there getting an October surprise, and we hope there is none of those October surprises because they tend to be disruptive to society. We don't like that. But the news media is getting an October surprise, and that is, well, it turns out that they're not getting the viewership, the ratings that sustain their budgets. Michelle, we've talked about how there was this very divisive and controversial ABC News debate between the presidential candidates. Some people loved it. Many people did not. Then CBS had a vice presidential debate that also was likewise contentious in the way that was received. And I think that things are not going well. The legacy news media is dying. Michelle, do I have any of that wrong before we dive into the article? Is that a similar assessment that you have?
That's pretty much word for word, a similar assessment that I would have. Yeah, definitely.
All right, well, let's get into the article proper. And folks, here is what we have. It says the rampant cost cutting across a media industry struggling to transition to the streaming era is finally coming for the sacred cows. Star talent. At Disney's ABC, which, remember, should be getting the biggest boost you've ever seen out of the presidential debate, Good Morning America anchors George Stephanopoulos, Robin Roberts, and Michael Strahan, who each have deals valued at $25 million annually, will face an uphill battle in coming negotiations to maintain, not to increase, to maintain their current rates, that compensation. People familiar with the situation said. At NBC today, anchor Hoda Kotb said late last month she is ending her run on the show. Co-host Savannah Guthrie, whose current deal has more than a year to run, may face the same situation. ESPN, which, by the way, is 1/3 of all of Disney's efforts because 1/3 of their entire company structure is devoted to sports, meanwhile, recently laid off senior NBA writer Zach Lowe, one of its star analysts, after it had already said goodbye to other big names like Robert Griffin III. Agents for big stars have gotten a message loud and clear from network suits. Don't expect a raise and be prepared for a pay cut. This is the quote we'll pause on. The day of the media icon, the standalone center stage TV personality is coming to an end, said Frank Cessno, a professor of media and public affairs at George Washington University and a former Washington bureau chief for CNN. Michelle, as I talked about in a recent video that we did here on the Pro Channel, it is not all of the news media that is suffering. Sources like Tim Pool of Timcast, Megyn Kelly, Pierce Morgan, and so many more are experiencing a huge boom in viewership. And we'll get to how this is playing out on cable, which is also drastically different. But Michelle, it seems to me that the news media hitched their wagon to partisanship, and they did so at a time when their budgets are designed for mainstream news coverage. And when they're no longer mainstream, they can no longer afford to do what they're doing. it seems very similar to how in entertainment, we have watched the industry go into woke ideology for about 5 years, and it decimated the studios. Michelle, your thoughts on this topic?
Yes, well, I think this is quite simple to actually see how the numbers could get there, because I mean, really on mainstream and the mainstream networks, you pretty much, as far as, I mean, let's be real. I wish there were more than two parties, but we have basically two parties for the most part that at least get elected. And when only really Fox News is the only one who takes a more conservative leaning, that means all the other channels, ABC, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, everyone else is competing for the same demographic. So when you've already won, you've split the audience 50-50 basically with Our Nation. And then as far as ABC and those channels, you keep dividing it more and more because everyone knows you are partisan, and there's a lot of other partisan networks for more the democratic approach to things. And then secondly, something I that kind of stood out to me, say like with the George Stephanopoulos, and you mentioning people like Tim Pool, Megyn Kelly doing very well. I think one of the things that the audiences are wanting and craving right now is authenticity. And when you have someone like a George Stephanopoulos, which I can say this absolutely and prove it, who point blank lied to his audience about Joe Biden's mental capacity, knowing what it was, and then he was exposed as a liar with that debate very shortly after his statements. It's very understandable why audiences have tuned out from these people. Exactly.
Michelle, it doesn't just stop, though, at your traditional news. It's in late night. And what have we watched, Michelle? We have watched as late night became a partisan cuss show, is how I put it, to be on the proper side of things, folks. But it has turned into an absolute just slugfest of politics. It's no longer about humor. Well, how's that going? It says late night also isn't immune. Last month, NBC's Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon joined ABC's, that's Disney, by the way, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and CBS's Late Show with Stephen Colbert. And I don't know which is worse, Jimmy Kimmel or Stephen Colbert, in not airing new episodes on Fridays. What does that mean? Well, it means they cut to 4. That means they cut the costs. Some at NBC were angling to cut Seth Meyers' late night show completely. It survived, but the band was let go. And further cost reductions are in store over the course of his latest deal, a person familiar with the plan said. In other words, these people get up there and they preen and they prance and they act like they are the arbiters of culture, and they are the arbiters of what society should believe. Meanwhile, they have gone completely broke. They're trying to find quarters and dimes in the couches on the set where the guests are supposed to sit. Michelle, everything is going poorly for this. And folks might say, well, now, Pro, what does this have to do with entertainment? And I would say, well, late night, once upon a time, was entertainment. And I would also furthermore say that the news is driven by advertising. And the news, with its budgets, it's supposed to be something that is acceptable to the mainstream of America. They've gotten away from that, both in news coverage and in their entertainment offerings. And in doing so, they cannot sustain what they have. They're forfeiting the throne. And oh, by the way, if they were willing to do this for tiny budgets, okay, let's say that the Joker Part 2, for example, had a $5 or $10 million budget, then the fact that it is a colossal failure would not hurt so badly. When it has a $200 million budget, there is no way to recoup the losses. They cannot continue to make either entertainment nor news that is this far tilted towards a very tiny demographic that will accept it. Michelle, any points on that?
Well, I mean, absolutely. I think that's what you're seeing with the ABCs of this world, the NBCs, all those. They have taken, when you go that partisan, you've got, again, about 50% of the audience, and that's divvied up among all the different news channels. And then when it comes to ESPN, or when it comes to watching Jimmy Fallon or Stephen Colbert, all those different people, Jimmy, who's the other one? Why did I just go brain dead on his name? That you said it's
Kimmel,
a competition.
Colbert,
Kimmel,
and
there
Fallon.
we go. People are not tuning in to late night talk shows to hear about politics. I remember growing up watching people like Conan O'Brien when I was younger, and they just made you laugh. Like it was just kind of about what was going on in that day and in pop culture, and they bring celebrities out. Like that was the point of late night television. It wasn't the news 2.0. We aren't wanting politics on Jimmy Kimmel. You have people, you have all kinds of different people that are more qualified, or when I say more qualified, people would rather listen to their opinion on politics than
Michelle,
Jimmy Kimmel.
They've bankrupted themselves with a smarmy smirk on their face. They're elites who have nothing to be elite about. They've lost the audience. They've decimated the traditions that they were handed, right? The late night shows are a tradition going all the way back to the dawn of television. And they've burned them down at the altar of politics.
Well, I mean, I think a good bringing up Jimmy Kimmel, they even were trying to like kind of smooth over the fact that he's lost so much of his audience. I remember they interviewed him on, it's probably ABC, I would assume, staying in house there.
Again, Disney.
And yes, and his response was, they were like, well, do you say good riddance to that audience? He's like, well, I won't say good riddance, but riddance. So
right.
like you said,
and good riddance also to my budget. Yeah.
Yes. So they brought it on themselves.
Right. Okay. So how are the others doing? Folks, we're not a political channel, but we just have to give you what the facts are. And the fact is that because they've abdicated this, what have they allowed to have happen? Well, Fox News is dominating them. It says Fox News dominates third quarter ratings. And this is what is amazing. And I'm not here to toot the horn of Fox News. I'm not going to share my opinions on Fox News, but just know that I'm not here to promote them. It says Fox News dominates third quarter ratings, tops ABC and CBS through late presidential race cycle. Okay, we said it once. Why did we say it twice? Because you need to focus on this. By the way, David Gilmour of Mediaite is the author of it. ABC and CBS, they broadcast far and wide, and you could even pick them up on little rabbit ears across the country. They're available everywhere. They're the networks. The fact that a cable channel is beating them is crazy. But here's how bad it is. To go to Nielsen, folks, and Nielsen has the most recent we have for television is September 16th through September 22nd, okay? So we normally look at streaming numbers. Let's look at TV numbers now. All right, so NBC Sunday Night Football, that had the biggest draw. Then Sunday Night NFL Pre-Kick, that had the biggest draw. Then Overtime. Then NBC Football. Then Matlock, which is a surprise real win. Good job. Then 60 Minutes. It's literally the only news piece out there, and it's on CBS, and it's prior to the debate that we watched with the vice presidential candidate. So who knows if that will hold? But there's nothing on here for news for these other other networks. Let's go to cable now. What's happened on cable? Again, football top 3 spots. Then what happens? This is crazy, people. This is nuts. Fox News, listen, I know Fox says that they're fair and balanced, right? And I'm not trying to diss them. I'm simply saying that I don't think that a lot of people on the left are watching Fox News. Maybe there's a ton in the middle. Clearly somebody is supporting this. Fox tilts to the right. Fox is dominating all of cable, not just news, but all of cable. That means all the advertising money from cable is going to Fox News. This is a paradigm shift. This is incredible, Michelle. Were you expecting to see this when we go into cable ratings?
No, not really. Not to see that many Fox News channels up in the top 10. My gosh.
It's wild. It's not something you would typically see. So I say all of that, Michelle, to make the point that the networks have given up half or more of their audiences because of ideological capture. And investors should not put up with this, in my estimation. And I'm not speaking to one company. I'm not just speaking to Disney. I'm speaking to NBC. I'm talking to Viacom and CBS. Everybody involved in this. You have sacrificed your companies and their legacies in order to chase partisan points. But partisan points, they're not necessarily going to pay the bills. Michelle, I'll give you final word on this.
Yeah, I mean, if these channels want to begin to do better, I mean, first off, back to one of the points I made, allow them to be a little more authentic. Definitely don't lie to your audience and say someone is Kojak when they're not. And then also, it's just not wise if you're Jimmy Kimmel, if you're the late night. when people come to Force of Light Entertainment, say, to watch one of our reactions, they're not looking for political commentary, and we know that, right? So the same with the Jimmy Kimmel or ESPN. No one wants your political analysis when they come to your channel or to your late night show. That's supposed to be comedic. And then as far as the other networks, you know what? Maybe Fox News has cornered this section of the market that you have just totally abandoned. And maybe it would be wise to begin to something that would be unique. I actually think CNN is actually, believe it or not, I believe they're attempting to move in this direction. People, I think, would be happy if one of these networks became very much kind of a voice for the independents, kind of in the middle. I think people would like that too. But yes, if you choose to go all in, very partisan, it's just not going to work when so many are fighting for that market share.
Right, and folks, you can be for Kamala, you can be for Trump, you can be for somebody else. We're not here to tell you how to vote. I'm here to tell you about ratings. I'm here to tell you about advertising money, and I'm here to tell you that the same people running the entertainment side of things are the people running the news business. Don't believe me? Go check out Bob Iger. He's a newsman who made his way up to the CEO position and says he watches every single movie they put out 6 or 7 times. A little bit facetious there. I think he said 5 times. That's plenty enough for a CEO, I would say. And what's the result of it? Well, YouTube is now dominating all of streaming, and streaming dominates every other form of TV watching. Who's the king of TV now? It's not Disney. It's YouTube. And who's on YouTube now? Tim Pool, Megyn Kelly, Pierce Morgan, PBD. We can keep going. Young Turks, if you want an example on the left. Those voices now. The long format conversations, the higher IQ broadcast, that's working. And the 8-minute gotcha clips between commercial breaks that are 5 minutes long, not fantastic anymore. And when it went partisan, it went too far and they lost their audience, no longer able to sustain themselves. Michelle, you're part of this big YouTube thing, though. You are a content creator and highly, highly successful at that. Michelle, tell the folks out there where they might find your genius analysis of entertainment.
Yes, well, if you want all things entertainment, pop culture, also movie reviews, movie reactions, go check me and my sister out at Force of Light Entertainment on YouTube, and let's keep YouTube up there at the top. You can do so by continuing to watch WDW Pro and Force of Light Entertainment.
Fantastic, and I want to thank you personally, Michelle, because you and your sister teamed up with thatparkplace.com over the weekend, and you all managed to get a heck of a scoop out of actor Warwick Davis in regards to the replacement of certain actors trying to play the roles of characters of a smaller stature. It was a fantastic get and really is a huge counterpoint to what Peter Dinklage has been saying. Thank you so much for partnering up and getting that. That was wonderful. Yes,
well, I always enjoy working with you guys, so anytime.
Well, fantastic. Folks, you can help us out. You can work together with us. Send this YouTube out wide and far across the fruited plains of YouTube by clicking the like button. Share, subscribe, click it, stick it to those pesky algorithms. Hit the notification bell. Drop a comment right on down below. Let us know your thoughts. Join in a community dialogue. No, the linear broadcast networks, they will not allow you to give direct feedback, but here it's desired. It's appreciated. We even read them and care. Folks, until the next time we have the opportunity, the honor to spend time with you and hopefully add value to your day, we wish you well on your way, wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Keep learning, keep growing, and as always, as ever, keep having fun.
Listen up, my brothers and sisters. You've been listening to Phils and those with an agenda to destroy your brain cells for far too long. It's time to change your way of doing things. Hold up. TPP is the place to be. Covering the news so honestly. It's a team that's cool and tried and true. Ahead of the culture curve, they're trying to keep you. Jonas and Pro, they run the show, and they dragged in the bearded culture casino. You got Valiant and Lord and Fourth of Light. Wonderful people, yeah, they're alright. They got weird bringing in people like Floral, but made no mistake with Lorena Creole. Amelia and John, stuttering guitarist. Martin and Tawny and someone called CMS. Fat Steven makes a bunch of all the graphics. Did I mention a partnership with Bending in the comics? Fat Sky is a guy and Doc Matt does the web stuff. There's probably some people I missed. I hope they're not telling you the news. That should be fun with accurate info. info that's not been spun, you can figure it out. As you will see, the TPP is the place to be.
Yeah, Wilton. That was actually pretty good, or white. But I think you might have forgotten Vash.
Well, he lost all his friends. But it was implied.